Welcome back. This is E5110 Probability Foundations for Electrical Engineering. In this lecture, we are going to look at what are called as the probability generating functions. These functions, just like the probability mass function or the density function or the cumulative distribution function, is another way of characterization of the random variables. These functions can be defined for discrete valued random variables, and they would be extremely useful in handling the various properties of these random variables and deriving their moments and so on. We will look at the definition first. So let us consider a random variable x. Then there is a class of transformations that you can carry it out on the mass function or the density function. One such transformation is the Laplace transform. That is, if you take the probability density function of a continuous valued random variable and take the Laplace transform, let us say it is defined over the non-negative real axis, then the Laplace transform would be 0 to infinity e power of sx fx of x dx. We can see that this is nothing but the expectation of the function e power of sx. So such Laplace transforms of the density functions will be of importance, and we will look at it in detail later when we deal with the continuous valued random variable. Incidentally, if in place of e power of s we replace a variable z, then what you would get is nothing but a z transform of the probability mass function for a case of discrete valued random variable. So now we will confine our attention to discrete valued random variable, in particular random variable that takes non-negative integer values. So the support for the random variables are 0, 1, 2 and so on. For such random variables, we can define the z transform by just substituting z as e power of s in this expression. So what essentially we have is a function which is the expectation of z power x. So this capital X is the random variable. So it is expectation of the variable z power x. Z is just a transformation variable. Okay. So we will give a notation for this. We will call this as capital M subscript capital X of z. Okay. M we are using because these are the one which will generate, okay, some either probabilities, or it can be used for generating moments in general. So we are using the symbol M for that, and then capital X because this is the z transform of the probability mass function of the random variable x. When we deal with many random variables, say x, y, of course z we cannot use, but that will get confused with this z, x, y, p and so on, we will appropriately call it as mx of z or my of z, mp of z and so on. So this is just to remember which random variable we are talking about. So here goes the definition for the probability generating function of the discrete non-negative integer valued random variable capital X. Mx of z is expectation of z power x. So applying the formula for the expectation, we simply get this is nothing but sigma k varying from 0 to infinity, because this is the support or the values the random variable can take. If it takes a value k, that is, then this will have nothing but probability that z equal to k into z power k. So this, by definition of the expectation of this function of the random variable, you get this one. So we call this as the probability generating function. So to give an idea what it means, let the values taken by the random variable x be 0, 1, 2 up to infinity, and the PMF, probability mass function of the random variable, is given as follows: probability that x equal to k. For at 0, let the probability be p naught, p1 for 1, p2 for 2, and pk for k, and so on. So what essentially we are doing by taking the expectation of z power x is, we use the expression z power k and multiply it with the probability that x equal to k, and then sum over all values of k. That is, we would this expression on expansion. For this example, you get mx of z is nothing but p naught into z power 0, p1 z power 1, p2 z power 2 up to pk z power k, and so on. So this is what we mean by the probability generating function. So what we know is that the probability mass function fully characterizes a discrete valued random variable. Okay, so all information are present in the different probabilities that are given in the probability mass function. No more information is required. That is why we say it is a full characterization of the discrete valued random variable. And by defining a function like the probability generating function, we are taking into account all such probabilities, and therefore this would also be a different way of characterizing the random variable. In other words, if you are given the probability generating function, that way also you can fully characterize the random variable, because all informations are kept intact. But only thing is, the way we understand these probabilities or nothing, we associate it as a coefficient of a polynomial in z, p naught into z power 0, p1 z power 1, and so on. So we can view it as a infinite degree polynomial, and p0, p1, p2 are the coefficients of the different powers of z in that polynomial. So this is another way of characterization. Now you may wonder, what is the advantage of this way of characterization? We have now got a very long polynomial instead of a listing of the probabilities in the case of a PMF. But you would see that in many cases this polynomial can have a very compact representation. So in which case we don't need to give a table of all probabilities. We can simply give that function which corresponds to this probability, this polynomial. You can see later on that some polynomial expression of the type 1 over 1 minus z, okay, on expansion may lead to a polynomial, and if that polynomial's coefficient are the one corresponding to the probability, then that simple expression would fully characterize the random variable. That is the advantage. Using some example, we will see how that characterization, compact representation, naturally comes for different well-known random variables. So that is the advantage. Number one, a easy way of characterizing the random variable. Another thing is, using these polynomial or the expression probability generating function, you would be in a position to pull out the probability that the random variable takes any given value easily. Suppose you are given mx of z, not necessarily in this polynomial form or in some other form. You would like to just pull out pk or pl out of it. That is the probability that x equal to k from that one. How do we do it? That is the question. And the fact that we are able to do it is the one which leads to the fact that this mx of z is given the name probability generating function, because it is a function that generates the probability, various probabilities present in the probability mass function. So the problem is this one. Suppose we want to pull out this probability that x equal to k or pk out of this polynomial. How do we go about doing it? First thing is that we have to eliminate all terms which are less than z power k and all terms which are above z power k. How can we do that? First, to eliminate everything up to z power k minus 1, what we can do is that we can differentiate it. Before going into that one, we will just look at some simple properties of this PGF. We will use the acronym PGF, probability generating function henceforth. So mx of z is given by k varying from 0 to infinity pk z power k. If you evaluate the PGF at z equal to 0, then what we are doing is, okay, excepting for this 0th order, the fixed term, constant term, all other terms vanish in this polynomial, because if you substitute z equal to 0, all these terms vanish. So you will just get P naught. So P naught can be easily obtained by evaluating PGF at z equal to 0. But of course we are interested in evaluating other probabilities also. Now another interesting thing is, if you evaluate the PGF at z equal to 1, then what happens is we have to put z equal to 1 in all these places. So z power k, whatever may be the value of k, it becomes just 1. So we end up finding P naught plus P1 plus P2 and so on. And we know through the normalization condition of the PMF that will evaluate to 1. So we find that PGF evaluated at z equal to 1 simply gives 1. For all, any random variable for that matter, its PGF at z equal to 1 will simply give 1. Of course, this is just a property, may not be of importance of interesting thing, okay, for us. But the interesting thing will be that we would be able to extract the probability, any probability that is present in the PMF as follows. So again we will go back to this one. So suppose mx of sz is given, which is P naught plus P1z plus P2z squared and so on. So this is also another very easy way of writing it. If you know P naught, P1, P2, P3 are all the probabilities present in the PMF, PGF is nothing but you just construct a polynomial as P naught plus P1z plus P2z squared plus P3z cube and so on. You just get the PGF. So now if you differentiate this PGF once with respect to z, because after all this is a function of z, okay, the variable z, okay, x will not be present later, okay. Once we transform it, the new variable z occurs. If you differentiate it with respect to z, then you would see that P naught term goes away because this is a constant term. P1z simply becomes P1, P2z squared becomes 2 times P2z, P3z cube becomes 3 times P3z squared and so on. The kth term becomes k times pk z power k minus 1 and so on. Now, okay, so what we can do is that we can write mx of z dash, which is the differential of mx of z with respect to z, is simply k varying from 1 to infinity. Note, it is 1 to infinity, k times pk z power k minus 1. Okay. Now, if you evaluate this differential of PGF at z equal to 1, so what you get is that, so this becomes always 1. So you get sigma k 0 to infinity. You can also put as k is equal to 0, no harm, because there is a k factor here. 0 to infinity k times pk. So as you know that this is nothing but the expectation of this discrete non-negative integer valued random variable x. So this is expectation of x. So you can easily derive the mean or the expectation of the random variable by first finding the differentiation of the PGF with respect to z and substituting z equal to 1. So this is another interesting property of the PGF. Now, if you do a differentiation 2 times, naturally you would see that the P1 also will vanish, and if you do it 3 times, P2 will also vanish, and so on. So if you want to retain only pk, you can differentiate it k times. If you differentiate it k times, you would see that here that pk z power k on differentiation k times will become simply k factorial into pk, and it will not be, z will not occur henceforth. Okay, so it is simply k factorial pk, and all lower order terms go away, vanish away. And what happens to the higher order one? They will be there, but they are all terms with z or z squared and so on. So we will simply call it, they are all functions of z. Okay, now what are we interested in? We are interested in extracting pk. We have already removed everything below k, and we have got this term as k factorial pk, and we have other terms with z. If you want to eliminate it, simply substitute z equal to 0. So if you do so, and then bring this k factorial to the other side, you would see that 1 over k factorial d power k of mx of z by d z power k evaluated at z equal to 0 will simply give you pk. So, which means that if you want, you can extract out the probabilities that the random variable takes a given value by appropriately differentiating it, setting z equal to 0 and so on. So this method can be used to generate or extract probabilities of any for any term. So that is why we call this mx of z as the probability generating function. Well, now let's closely scrutinize what will happen if you differentiate it second time or third time and so on. First, what will happen if you differentiate mx of z 2 times? So mx double dash of z is nothing but sigma k varying from 1 to infinity k into k minus 1 pk z power k minus 2. Okay. So this is how it comes to. Okay. So you would see that this, because we are differentiating twice, we get k and k minus 1 factorial comes, and this becomes z power k minus 2. Now again, if you substitute z equal to 1 in that one, what we get is k equal to 1 to infinity k k minus 1 pk. So this is what we get. So how does it look like? Okay, this is not the normal expression for any moment that we have encountered so far. Okay, but it looks something like that one, but it is not a normal exponent that we have encountered. What we have encountered so far is what are called as the moments and central moments. Okay, that is expectation of x power k, we have called it as the kth moment. Okay, the first moment is expectation of x, second is expectation of x squared and so on. X power k expectation gives you the kth moment. And if you look at the random variable, transformed random variable x minus mu k, mu x to be very correct in this case, and then take the moments of this random variable which are deviations from the mean, then those are called as the central moments. That is expectation of x minus mu x whole power k is the kth central moment. There is also another name for it. It's also called as cumulants. So these two are the one which we have familiarized ourselves. In fact, for k is equal to 2, this is nothing but the variance. Okay. Now what we have got here is something different. This will be k into k minus 1 if it is for the second time. For the third, it will be k minus 1, k minus 2 and so on. So this factor looks like a factorial. So it is given a name called as the factorial moments. To be specific, this is nothing but expectation of x into x minus 1. So this PGF on differentiating appropriate time and setting z equal to 1 leads to what are called as the factorial moments. Factorial moments by themselves have some utility, but in particular they can also be used to get our central moments, which is of prime importance to us. In particular, if you are interested in getting variance, we can make use of factorial to get the variance. Let us simply look at how it can be done. So let us look at what will happen if you differentiate mx of z twice and set z equal to 1. We saw that we will get expectation of x into x minus 1. On multiplying it and then taking individually expectation, that is nothing but expectation of x squared minus expectation x. So this is what the factorial moment will be. Let us say we are interested in the variance of x, which is expectation of x squared minus expectation x the whole squared. How do we get it from the factorial moment? Second factorial moment. So we want this quantity from this. To do that one, we have to remove this one by adding once e of x to cancel it out, and then we have to subtract e of x the whole squared. Then you would get the variance. So variance of x can be written as this quantity, which I would call it as mx double dash of z as z equal to 1, plus one quantity of e of x to cancel this one, that is, which we know already the expectation as mx dash of z at z equal to 1, and subtract this quantity, which is minus of mx dash of z at z equal to 1 the whole square. So everything now it's in the form of in terms of mx of z. So the variance of x can be written by this formula, and given mx of z we can evaluate all of these things. Differentiate it once, you get this. Here this also can be gotten. Twice you get this one, and substitute z equal to 1 in this appropriate expression. Okay, so that is how variance can be obtained. Now let us look at how the PGF looks like for certain well-known discrete valued random variable. So they are defined for non-negative integer valued random variable. So Bernoulli random variable is 1, such that although it doesn't take all possible positive integral values, it takes only 0 or 1, still it qualifies for that. So Bernoulli random variable x 0 or 1. Okay, so the values for the probabilities are, for x equal to 0 the probability is q or 1 minus p. For x equal to 1 it is p. So substituting it in this expression, expectation of z power k, we get z power 0 into probability x equal to 0, that is 1 minus p, plus z power 1 into probability x equal to 1, that is p1. So z power 0 is 1, so p naught is 1 minus p, so you get 1 minus p plus z into p. We can rewrite it by taking p common out of this as 1 plus p into z minus 1. So this would be the PGF of the Bernoulli random variable. Now let us look at the binomial random variable, okay, with n comma k as the parameters. N is the total number of trials that you conduct, okay, and of course this parameter has to be p, the probability of success, not k, okay, and then if you, for that binomial, if you take expectation of z power k, so what do you get? Sigma k 0 to n pk z power k, because the maximum only from 0 to n the probabilities are given. So this is sigma k is equal to 0 to n choose k, p power k 1 minus p power n minus k, this is pk into z power k. Okay, now what we can do is, we have p power k, z power k, we can combine it together to have a term pz power k. So now we have an expression which is sigma k 0 to n, n choose k, pz power k and to 1 minus p power n minus k. This is nothing but the expansion of this term, where instead of p and 1 minus p, we have pz and 1 minus p. So it is 1 minus p plus pz whole power n. This expansion will give you this one. So this would be the PGF for the binomial random variable. Look at the PGF of binomial random variable and the PGF of the Bernoulli random variable. Okay, we know that the binomial random variable with n tosses is nothing but if that we call that as Sn, it will be nothing but the sum of the values taken by n Bernoulli random variables. S is being used because it is the sum of n Bernoulli random variables. So we know that this is how the random variables are related. Then what we are simply finding is that is the Z transform of the PMF of the binomial random variable Sn, Msn of Z, is nothing but the nth power of the Z transform or the PGF of the Bernoulli random variable. In this case, incidentally, the Bernoulli random variables are independent of each other. So if you take the Bernoulli random variable and then you take a power of n, you get the binomial random variables PGF. So we can also write it as mx of z power n. Now let us look at other random variables. We will first look at the modified geometric random variable. So you know the geometric random variable is a one in which you it is the number of trials you have to do in order to get the first success. Okay, that is how it is. This is actually p. P x equal to k is q power k minus 1 into p. So you have to make k trials in order to get the first success, means there are k minus 1 failures followed by 1 success. This is the normal geometric random variable. And what is modified geometric random variable? It is the number of failures encountered to get the first success. Okay, so this one, in which case the corresponding probability is q power k into p. If you have to encounter k failures, sequence of k failures in order to get the first success, then this is the condition that it has to be obeyed. So x equal to k is q power k into p. For this modified geometric random variable, if you find the PGF, mx of z is nothing but expectation z power k, sigma k is equal to 0 to infinity. In place of pk you put pk z power k, in place of pk you put p into q power k into z power k. So we can rewrite it, pull out the p outside and then join these two together as qz power k. So this is how it is. So if qz is less than 1, this series is converging and we will get mx of z is equal to p by 1 minus qz. Well, the condition is qz has to be less than 1. We know q is always less than 1, for that is the Bernoulli random variable we talk about. Okay, so if z is also less than 1, then strictly qz will be less than 1, but it is not necessary that z has to be less than 1 for, okay, yeah, I think if z has to be less than 1, okay, then for this to hold good. Okay, but if for some values of appropriate values of q, z can even be greater than 1. As long as qz is less than 1, this is convergent. But definitely this is a region of convergence, and in that case mz of z we will get this one. So now here comes the example of what I have been telling, that at many times this mx of z may turn out to be a very simple function. It is not an infinite polynomial as you might always think of. Although k can take infinite possible values, in this case it is simply p by 1 minus qz. In the previous case it is 1 minus p plus pz power n and so on. So many times it turns out to be a very simple function which compactly has all the probabilities present in it. Next, if you look at the modified binomial random variable. Again, what is modified binomial random variable? It is the number of failures before you encounter kth success. That is, a binomial random variable with n trials is the number of successes that you will get in n trials. Whereas here, okay, and you will give a prescription of what is the probability that k successes will happen if n trials are conducted. Now we ask the other question, okay, how many failures that will happen before you get the kth success? Okay, so if you look at that one, you would see that this modified binomial random variable is sum of k modified geometric random variable, because first you have to conduct trials until and count the number of failures before the first success, then reset the counter, again keep counting the number of failures before the second success and up to the kth success, and their sum with what will give you the modified binomial random variable. So this is what you would, that is what that we know that one. And from the previous case of the Bernoulli random variable, it is possible to generalize and then write the PGF of modified binomial random variable will be the kth power of the PGF of the modified geometric random variable. Okay, so this is what you will, although we have not rigorously proved this result, this is how what it will turn out to be. So we can write mx of z for modified binomial random variable as p by 1 minus qz power k. Next we will look at the Poisson random variable. Okay, let x be a Poisson random variable. It qualifies for getting the PGF because it is precisely a non-negative integer valued random variable. Okay, so let the parameter be lambda. So the probability that x equal to k is given by the Poisson prescription for the probabilities as e power of minus lambda, lambda power k by k factorial. So what is the PGF? Mx of z is the expectation of z power k. So sigma k is equal to 0 to infinity pk z power k. So in place of pk you put this expression, you would get e power of minus lambda, lambda power k by k factorial into z power k. Club these together to a form lambda z power k by k factorial, and then you can pull out e power of minus lambda out of this summation because it is not a function of k. So you get e power of minus lambda and this one. You would know that this is nothing but a exponential expansion for lambda z. So this summation turns out to be e power of plus lambda z, and e power of minus lambda is there. So you can write it as e power of lambda into z minus 1. So this becomes the PGF of the Poisson random variable. You can check it for yourself of deriving the mean from the PGF by differentiating it once and setting k is equal to 1, and similarly the variance by first getting the factorial moments and then using the formula that we have already seen. You can take it as an exercise to see that one. Finally, before stopping, we will again look at that you can have mixed random variables, or even if you want the discrete valued random variable. Okay, we want to finish the discrete valued random variable and move on to continuous valued random variable. Before doing that, we will show that a discrete valued random variable can also be treated as a special case of continuous valued random variable by introducing special functions like the delta Dirac function. So with that in mind, we can only work with one kind of random variables. It's just the continuous valued random variable. Although this may not be convenient all the time, formally we can also write a discrete random variable, treat it as a continuous value, and we can give a density function for discrete valued random variable. if you use these special functions. Now let us look at this formally the delta Dirac functions. So what is a delta function? It is a function, okay, of this nature, that is, you construct a square function, okay, of width epsilon centered around 0, let us say. So it has a width ranging from minus epsilon by 2 to plus epsilon by 2, and it is of such a nature that it takes the uniform or the same value across over the entire range. Therefore it is square in nature, and its area is 1. To make that happen, the height has to be 1 over epsilon. So the definition goes as d epsilon of x. Epsilon is used because it depends upon the value of epsilon that you chose. So it is 1 over epsilon for x lying between minus epsilon by 2 to plus epsilon by 2 and 0 otherwise. So this is just a square function. In the limit epsilon tends to 0, you get the Dirac delta function. Limit epsilon tend to 0, d epsilon of x is defined to be the Dirac delta function delta of x. That is, it is 0 for x not equal to 0. For x equal to 1, it is not defined, but what is defined is that sigma minus infinity to plus infinity d epsilon of x dx is equal to 1. Okay. Now if you have PMF, okay, given at specific point x1, x2, x3, then we can construct Dirac delta function of appropriate height equaling the probabilities, say p0, p1, p2 at those points, and then sum all those Dirac delta function and get a density function, okay, of a continuous function for in place of the PMF. Before going that, we can also look at the unit step function, which will find useful in constructing the CDF. U of x is defined to be 0 for x less than 0 and 1 for x greater than or equal to 0. Okay, this can be obtained by integrating the Dirac delta function from minus infinity to the value x. Okay, you can get a shifted Dirac delta function by putting x minus x naught in within delta. So when this term is 0, then there is a peak with area 1 at that point wherever it is 0. When x equal to 0, this term becomes 0, so that spike occurs at x equal to 0, x0. Similarly, u of x minus x naught will give you the unit step function shifted from up to x naught, because when this becomes 0, it changes from 0 to 1, so that change occurs here. Now if we have a discrete valued random variable taking values 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on, it is need not be just integer value, it can be any value p0, 1, 2, 3 with probabilities p0, p1, p2, p3 and so on. Then fx of x is nothing but p0 into delta of x plus p1 into delta of x minus 1 and so on. It can be written as sigma over I pi into delta of x minus I, where I can take a value 0, 1, 2, 3. And if it is not integer, but at arbitrary values it can take x1, x2, then is delta of x minus xi. Similarly, what happens is that if you do construct a CDF, so at every time we cross an xi, then you have to add the corresponding probabilities to the CDF. So you can construct a unit step function at these places and then add all those unit step function. So sigma over I pi u of x minus xi, where u is the unit step function, we will end up getting the CDF. That is, this is the unit step function for x equal to 0, x equal to 1, x equal to 2 and so on. Then what you get is that if you add all those things, you would get a staircase like function which changes at the values 0, 1, 2 or x0, x1, x2, and the height of the step change is p0, p1, p2. So that is the CDF of the discrete random variable. So Okay, we have given a PMF as well as the CDF for this one. We will not talk about the component lifetime at this point. Okay, this is just an example. So we have discussed the probability generating function, and these functions are useful just like the PMF or CDF in characterizing the discrete random variable. So we will stop at this point. In the next lecture onwards, we will look at continuous valued random variables in detail. Thank you.